Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
How can we afford to lose unvaccinated healthcare workers when we have a shortage of healthcare workers, Trudeau? Trudeau, how can we afford to lose unvaccinated healthcare workers in a healthcare shortage?
Look, guys. Close the door. Look, guys. Close the door, guys. Private property here.
Oh no, it's hiding. No.
Cameron, our stuff.
No, I'm sorry, you can't come in.
Please don't touch me.
I'm not
Thank
touching
you.
you. I'm just
This is
telling
public property.
It is not.
Okay, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you?
It's public.
Can I talk to you? Why are we not allowed in?
It's the event.
Why is media not allowed in? I registered. I'm independent media. I'm accredited. These are public servants. We have millions of people who would like me to ask a question. The snap election that's going to cost Canadians millions of dollars is on the way, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made an appearance today in the Vancouver, BC area. You better bet I was there, but did I get an answer to my tough question? You're going to want to watch this full report to see what went down. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and when it comes to knowing who you want to vote for during a snap election that's been thrown on you, you're going to want a key thing. It's called information. You want to know about the parties, and you want to know what their opinions are on key things, like in Canada right now, federal employees being told that they need to be vaccinated fully with a non-fully approved vaccination. If not, they will be terminated by October 12th. In British Columbia, where I am, the same thing is happening from our public health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is saying the same thing for some of our health workers, the ones that have worked at long-term care homes, for example, for the last 18 months, helping COVID-19 patients, but maybe haven't decided to take this novel intervention yet, are being told that they may be rewarded for their hard work during the pandemic by losing their job should they not opt into these government-mandated injections. So I went to the Vancouver Convention Centre. I wanted to ask Prime Minister Trudeau, how on earth in BC can we afford to lose any unvaccinated frontline medical workers when they're already quitting on us? We're getting reports in the news about a shortage of healthcare workers. I thought that the whole system of not overwhelming the health system has been the driving force behind everything we've done for the last 18 months. At least that's what we've been told when we locked up children in Canada and prevented them from going to school, socializing with their friends, and even ignored the increasing of suicides in healthy children who aren't really at risk when it comes to this virus. In some places, calls to children's crisis centers in Canada have gone up hundreds of percentages in some areas. This has been a huge concern. Our most vulnerable people are our children, and they've been put at risk. So I wanted to know what's going on here when we're putting the hospitals and long-term care homes at risk from possibly not having as many frontline workers as they have. I also wanted to know if these vaccine passports roll out, as it looks like it's about to happen, will they make some exemptions? Will there be a religious exemption? Will there be an exemption for antibodies? But instead, this is all I got. How can we afford to lose unvaccinated healthcare workers when we have a shortage of healthcare workers, Trudeau? Trudeau, will religious exemptions be honored for the vaccine for federal workers? Trudeau, how can we afford to lose unvaccinated healthcare workers in a healthcare shortage?
Look, guys. Close the door. Look, guys. Close the door, guys. Private property here.
Oh no, it's hiding. No.
Cameron, our stuff.
Why weren't you just inside of the event like other media? Well, that's a good question. I'd like to know that too. I'm accredited with the Independent Press Gallery. I received the email that said that it's open to all of the media, and that we just had to be there at 8:15 because the event was going to start at 10. I showed up by 8:15. I didn't get a response to my email when we signed up to be there, but when I got there, this is how I was treated from the media liaison.
I'm not going to get in here.
For what reason? What's the reason?
Why can't we get into it?
You're just not going to. Thanks.
We're just not going to?
Yeah.
I'm media, sir. I've already registered. Why can't we come in?
That's nice. Thanks.
This is all
Is it Galen or Gallon? How do you pronounce your name?
You can't just say no.
You have to give a reason. Those are public servants. This is public property, and we're independent media. I'm accredited with the Independent Press Gallery.
Gotcha.
What is the reason we haven't been able to sign the list and get in yet? That's not an answer. Are you guys open and transparent like your party says?
Asked you right now, what's going to happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
Can I please sign the list? I've registered. I'm accredited media.
We're good.
Just no response.
Leaving us hanging this whole time for what reason?
No, I'm sorry, you can't come in.
Please don't touch me.
I'm not
Thank
touching
you.
you, I'm just
This is
telling you.
public property.
It is not.
Okay, can I talk to you? Can I talk to you?
It's public.
Can I talk to you? Why are we not allowed in?
It's the event.
Why is media not allowed in? I registered. I'm independent media. I'm accredited. These are public servants. We have millions of people who would like me to ask a question.
Thank you.
What is the reason? Can I speak with you, please? Oh, we're just
So
gonna
who can we
just
talk to
shut the
about
doors.
this then?
This is Canada. We have a democracy here. I'm just here to ask a question. I'm not a risk at all. You could at least answer what is the reason you are refusing to let me in there as media, accredited media.
I'm good. Thanks.
What did they tell you about why we're not allowed to be in here today? You asked me who I was from, and I told you a media outlet. You said, what is it? I said, it's independent. You said, hang tight.
You guys are doing a very nice thing here in a beautiful province. I'm really glad to be here right now.
Yeah, it's our home.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
Beautiful place you guys got in Vancouver.
Well, you're kind of ruining it right now by suppressing free speech, sir. Do you understand what you're doing here today?
freedom of press as well. What is the crime of asking a question? Are you guys just literally filtering what type of questions can be asked of the Prime Minister? Is there someone else we could speak to? Is it Gallon or Galen? Or I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Galen Richardson. Is there somebody else we could speak to about why we are being refused to go in?
Again, you guys are here. A lovely day. I'm really enjoying your province right now. It's quite beautiful.
Did you guys see that? I mean, how creepy is it that instead of just answering why we're not allowed in, he started saying things like, I don't know, it's nice weather outside. Who is working for the Liberal Party and who is pulling the strings? Not only is that how they're treating journalists, that's how the Liberal Party is treating human beings. It's terrifying. But we weren't alone. Of course, there were some protesters outside, but there was also another independent journalist. His name is Dan from Press for Truth. We interviewed Dan to understand why he wasn't allowed in as well. You were one of the first journalists to be here today. Like, in case you guys don't know, you're with Press for Truth. And only Rebel News, from what we can see, Rebel News and Press for Truth was not able to get in there today. So what did they say to you before we got there?
Well, they first said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm here. I applied for the media accreditation. I'm just here to pick up my accreditation. He said, who you with? I said, Press for Truth. He said, Press for Truth, what's that? I said, it's a media outlet. And he's like, whose? And I was like, my own independent media outlet. And then from there on, he just said, hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. And when I continued to follow up and say, hey, where are we at? Is there a holdup? He'd say, yeah, we're good. Just hang on a minute. And then it came down to the event starting in 5-10 minutes, and he just flat out said, you're not coming in today. And he decided to be the gatekeeper of political thought and opinion today.
Yeah, and then it got really weird. Like, he just wouldn't answer why, what authority, who's telling you to do this, what's the reason. I mean, it's really disturbing, is it not?
It really is. It really is a sign of troubling times.
I want to know why independent journalists that Justin Trudeau doesn't want to hear a question from are not allowed inside these events. And you should want to know why important information is being suppressed during an election.
I don't like the lack of choice that we're facing as Canadians if he gets a majority. I'm running as a PP candidate in Coquitlam, and I just want people to have choices. If you want to wear a mask, that's fine. If you want to get vaccinated, that's fine. But if you don't want to, that is also fine.
You know, every time he chooses to come here and speak, directly right on the waterways that he threatens with the increased tanker traffic by 700%. It's always frustrating for me to come here and to be denied access to go in there. You know, he's only choosing to speak to his Liberal supporters, only the ones that will carry his good message, and continuing to ignore the dark history of Canada, the genocide against our people, with increased tanker traffic, resource extractions, what's happened to us for far too long, is why I'm here to remind him that it's unacceptable to come to my territory with posing his threat of increased tanker traffic.
What would you ask him if you get the chance to?
I would ask him, what did he mean when he said it? This is not a quote, but he said something about there will be consequences for people who don't have medical exemptions or are choosing not to be vaccinated.
But the bottom line is, if anyone who doesn't have a legitimate medical reason for not getting fully vaccinated chooses to not get vaccinated, there will be consequences.
Our public health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, said that, and then maybe a week or so later, she actually said what the consequences are.
It is a choice to be immunized, but there are consequences for people who are not immunized, and that's going to be more important for us as we head into the fall, as we know that this virus will increase. I have very little patience for people who aren't immunized in healthcare. If people choose not to be immunized and you work in healthcare, then you will not be able to work in certain settings without taking additional measures.
They're saying any long-term care workers and assisted living workers will have to be vaccinated by October 12th, both vaccinations, or terminated. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's disgusting.
And what about the First Nation communities that are pro-pipeline and the jobs that they provide for people?
Sure. I know this has been questioned for a long time. You know, a certain percentage of First Nations throughout BC do support this, but if we all look on a map, quite often not a lot of them are even close to the pipeline. So that's a little tricky there as well. And you know, if you look at, you know, in the 80s, the 70s, you know, those were the medieval days for our people. So much poverty, so much alcoholism, so much, you know, missing women. They come from poverty, so the elected leaders are forced to take these deals. They're forced to provide for their people.
And I'm really scared about this internet censorship. You know, people like you, Rebel News, the online media is the only honest media we have left. Trudeau owns every other single outlet through either direct funding or tax incentives. And I don't want Canada to become a giant propaganda machine.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything, since we're here, it's election time, is there anything specific to the area that you're running in that you have concerns about or that you're passionate about in your campaign?
I'm passionate about small businesses and the higher corporate tax rates, capital gains taxes, inheritance taxes, and all the regulations on small businesses is making it unlivable for Canadians. And it's almost making it difficult for people to enter the middle class and to, you know, go up that economic ladder. And I just, you know, I care about my children, and I want my children to be able to afford to buy a home, to have a family, and to have children in the next 20 years. And it doesn't look like that's going to be possible if the inflation keeps going up the way it is.
There seems to be a lot of focus lately on the church's role, and there is a role, of course, in residential schools, but a lot of targets towards churches today, specifically with close to 60 being burnt or vandalized, and a lot on First Nation land. So that seems to be where the angle is. What are your thoughts of that?
That's very unfortunate that they're being burnt down. And I know I can speak for my people and how we are taught as people and how to be. That's not our way, is to go burn these churches. Now, I'm not saying that someone else is doing it, a non-Indigenous person is doing to continuing to make us look bad. But I'm quite certain it's not our people doing this. But when these churches came about and it was never questioned what they did to our people, that was the colonial way. That's what took away so much from our people. So, but again, that's not our way, is to go and react in this way. We're healing in a lot of other ways, and that is one way we would not find satisfaction or any remorse or any healing, is to burn a church down.
I'm a normal person. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I vaccinated my daughter with a regular schedule way back when she was 2 years old. And I did my research. I'm an educator. And I went from sanitizing my groceries to this.
That's me too. Oh my God. After being rejected for bringing you the other side of the story, asking tough questions of the Prime Minister, we actually learned that this cafe behind us, Justin Trudeau was planning to go there for lunch, or, you know, a nice photo op of saying, hey, I support small businesses, look at me. So we thought, you know what, we're hungry too. We'll combine two things. We'll go there and get something to eat and wait for him to show up so that hopefully he won't be able to avoid us, because he doesn't own this place and he doesn't own the people who work there. But of course, where there's a will, there is a way when it comes to the Liberals avoiding important questions that Canadians deserve to know. So I went in there with my cameraman, Matt Brevner, who's behind the camera now, went to order, you know, a coffee. It was really good. Nice place, nice people. And as I'm in there, in comes security detail. Their job is to keep the Prime Minister safe, but of course they spotted prickly journalists with prickly questions and you could see the wheels turning, so they stood outside. Some of the other people we saw at the previous event as well were standing outside talking, so we started to figure out maybe Justin isn't as hungry when it comes to the thought of having to answer some questions. And sure enough, across the street over here, as we were in there, we could see another security detail. You know, he gets out of the van, goes back in, and starts to drive away. So yes, the Prime Minister was going to show up here today, and no, he did not, because Rebel News reporters were waiting inside to answer a question. That is the biggest threat to a Prime Minister. This is what he's got his staff on board to. This is how scared, how terrifying, and how much of a risk we are simply for practicing journalism. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was not joking when he said he admires China for its simple dictatorship. He's taking a play out of Communist China's book. It's real simple. Call an election. Control the narrative. They're even trying to pass censorship laws, thought censorship, and now they're trying to control what you hear during one of the most important elections in Canada. We're not going to stop reporting on what's really happening in Canada. And if you want to join us as we do so, please donate what you can at realreporters.ca. I'm Drea Humphrey, and this is Rebel News.